actually in my journey there have been several moments where I was not sure that I will take this path.
Life is not always beautiful and you cannot make happy all the time everybody. Organize your work in a way that it gives you more energy than it takes from you. I'm probably leading a lot through empathy. Sports has always been more masculine, male-driven. It is not like it is anymore. There are so many women out there. Women really go into the mountains to experience the mountains rather than the need of conquering the mountains. I think one of the really important things, and where I would take, looking back now, even more time is...
In this episode of Sports and Outdoor Mentors, I chat with Ruth Oberrauch, the Vice President of the Oberalp Group. I chat with Ruth about her early days of her career when she was working for Pentland brand in London, her career path through Oberalp Group, including time spent in marketing, HR and sustainability, as well as the exciting challenge and opportunity of launching a new brand during the pandemic, plus much, much more. But before we get into the episode, I have one favour to ask. Please hit the subscribe or follow button. This helps us to continue to grow the channel and bring these amazing insights to even more people. Thanks for your support and enjoy the episode.
Ruth, with both your father and uncle entrepreneurs within the outdoor space, I guess in some ways it was almost inevitable that you would be sitting here some years later as a leader yourself within the outdoor industry. But when you look back over your career and even life, I would say today, what are the key moments to lead you where you are today? So, VP of the Oberalp Group, where you have overseeing sustainability, HR, founder and brand manager of this brand here, and also sitting on the executive board of the group. So, what were those key moments that brought you to where we are today?
It is actually not obvious that I'm sitting here because actually in my journey there have been several moments where I was not sure that I will take this path. As you mentioned, I decided to start economics after I spent 1 year working in fashion retail after my high school. Because actually after high school I didn't know exactly what I want to do. I did pedagogic and psychology focus at high school, so was a little bit confused of what I want to do. There was obviously curiosity for, I would say, the beauty of things and therefore also fashion in my life. And I worked all the summer holidays at one of our stores. So there was an interest in that. But I wanted to find out after school if it's really what I like.
So I had a great experience working for Espinace, which was one of the leading fashion and lifestyle stores, I would say, that time, and had the opportunity to really understand what visual merchandising really means, how you build a selection for your store, and but it was simply also selling a lot, which was perfect training from what I'm doing today, I would say. So that year of, let's say, time helped me to understand that actually it is something I can feel myself in, and I started to start economics with a focus on marketing. And but still, I was not sure if I want to enter my family's company, and if that's the place I want to spend a big part of my life in the end. Because that's what we do. I had an experience at Pentland Group London, which is also a family-owned but management-led company. So there were some similarities also to Oberalp Group. Much bigger than we were at that time. But I had a fantastic time there, especially because Pentland Group and especially Andy Rubin gave me the possibility to really see the company from different angles, so really be part of different departments. And so I was having some months in legal, I was having some months in product development, I have worked some months in their marketing department, and especially I had also the opportunity in working in their CSR department. And Pentland Group, I would say, was one of those companies really leading and being really ahead in thinking about sustainability and how this impacts the way we do business and how we should influence actually how this market. And this was for me a very interesting experience. I think it's really one of those points that also influenced me in my later career. Because then there came the point where I say, okay, I will never find out if I want to work in my family's company if I don't try it out.
Sure.
So the idea initially was to simply start for 2 years to understand how it works, and then maybe do something else and come back again. I really had also the need to find out how the family business works, because actually it was never a topic that was too much present at home.
Okay.
So, I think my mother was always very, she really took care that family and the company are two things that are not necessary, interwoven. So at lunch we didn't speak about my dad's job, basically,
okay,
because obviously there was a lot of surrounding. Here in Bolzano, everybody knows the brand, everybody knows the company. So actually for me it was really getting to understand what it really is, what it really means. Well, and then I enjoyed the state, basically.
yeah,
But coming back to Pentland, I think that experience in working with the CSR department was really crucial for me, because when I joined Oberalp, I understood that Oberalp is a company that has everything that you need in terms of values, of attitude, to do a proper work in terms of sustainability. They were missing midterm goals, they were missing the fil rouge, or the red thread, to bring things together and connect them. But this is something you can manage, right? The important thing is that the values, that the understanding, that the interest for people and for the environment is there. And that was something I strongly felt when I joined Oberalp. So I tried to put together all these little dots and bring it together in a system. And that's actually how then we started to work in CSR and sustainability in a more organized way.
yeah. What was the main driver in your decision-making process to actually go to the UK and go to work for Pentland for a little bit? Because somehow the easier option maybe would have just been to come straight in and start working here. So what kind of drove that decision?
Well, for me it was extremely important to get to know something outside Oberalp. I think actually it would have been probably more difficult starting right after university in Oberalp without any clue how a company works, of that dimension of that organization and so on. Because I obviously coming in as the daughter of, wanted or not, there are some expectations.
Sure.
So I think the more experience you actually can gain outside, the better it is for your start within the family business. Looking back, I would say probably I should have had even some more experience outside the company. So I really think it helps you in getting your own ideas. So for me, I said, this experience of how the sustainability team was structured at Pentland and all the touch points they had with all the business was really important learning for me to say, okay, there is something we need to do in our company that I'm not sure if I would have seen that need if I wouldn't have had that experience before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, makes sense. And how did you find the cultural contrast, let's say, between Bolzano and, I guess you were based in London, in the head office?
Yeah. I was based in London. I was studying in Verona, so Dolce Vita Italiana, as we say. Obviously, going from Verona to London was a bit of a shift, I would say, especially in terms of light and weather. First winter, I remember, was quite tough for me, being dark that early. But I also had simply a great time meeting people from all over the world, not only at Pentland but also outside. Friendships that also last for a long time. Then I remember a girl from Hong Kong, a colleague from Australia, friends from the US and Colombia. So it was really great to be in that international environment that obviously in a city like Bolzano you hardly find. Even if it's changing, I would say, especially these days, but obviously London is a completely different setup and environment. I would say I probably met more people from around the world than London London people, but I mean that was just a very good experience for me to have.
So you came back, and I think initially you were working on marketing for a couple of the brands, and then, as you said, you transitioned into CSR, picking up on some of the things that you obviously observed in Pentland. I'm interested, I didn't know what you said about when you left school about working in the fashion store, so I didn't know that. I'm interested in that kind of contrast. There seems to be somehow almost like quite a heavy contrast in terms of that interest in fashion and at the start, and then more of a focus on sustainability and let's say doing things in a right way. So was that always there? Did you always have that kind of thought that things needed to be done differently or in a better way, or was it really the experience in Pentland that, I don't know, awoke it within you, if that's a way to articulate it?
Interesting question. I would say what has always been with me is somehow enjoying the beauty of things in terms of aesthetics, in terms of quality, in terms of accurate details. That's something that really I feel close to me, and I like to observe details. I like to really create those little magic moments. So that's probably the part I like in fashion. I like in working with products, which are something I really enjoy. But I also have always the idea to do it on a high quality, something that can last, something that stays with you. And I think that's actually the bridge between the two things. The second component is that I grew up in the mountains. I think I did my first ski tour with 10. I climbed the Rosengarten, which is just the mountain you see from Bolzano, with 8. So being outdoors, enjoying nature, something was just part of my childhood. Then obviously maybe as a teenager you lose it a little bit, but at university I really had a feeling I need to gain this back. So having this strong relationship with outdoors, with being active outdoors, enjoying nature, obviously helps you also in thinking about those aspects.
Yeah.
But I would say probably it's the combination of those two things.
Yeah. So after your, I think, 3-4 years within CSR, you then transitioned into HR, which is quite an unusual move somehow, I would say, going from more of a business operational role into an HR role is very unusual, but I think probably somehow very valuable. So what was, I guess, first behind the decision to make that move? And then since you made that move, what has it kind of brought you? What do you think you've learned, and how have you benefited from that experience?
As you mentioned before, I started to work in marketing for especially Salem and Dinafit back at that time. And in parallel started to organize sustainability at Oberalp Group. And it started with a working group. There was not a team there. Today we have a team of 5 people working on those topics, but back at that time was really a working group trying to meet every 2 months to work on some specific topics. So it was like a parallel development. And then I became mom quite young.
Okay.
And after I came back, after short maternity leave, I decided to focus on sustainability. And that topic grow, obviously, with focusing, it grows because more projects are coming up, you create more curiosity, more projects, you set more goals for yourself. When I was waiting for my second child, I decided that I need to do something different from my first experience as mom, where I came back, I think, after 4 months, so quite quickly. And I was always in a trouble between trying to do as much as I can at work, but having the feeling of never having enough time and feeling bad because I was not really dedicated at home. So having my second child, I decided to do it different and take a 2 years break from, let's call it, the operative work.
Okay.
Obviously, I was somehow involved, but let's say not the day-by-day work. But I also knew that staying at home is not really what I'm made for, so I decided to do a master. And I continued my study in Innsbruck. First I started just with was a modular system, and I just started with the first part in general management to learn more, especially connecting what you experience at work so far with systems and content you learned at university. Because if you are at university after school, I mean, it's so theoretic, you're not really able to connect the things. After you have some more working experience, obviously, what you learn, you can match with what you experience. And I think that was extremely valuable. And then there was a second model that actually was called, I think, Management, Psychology and Leadership.
Okay.
And this was really, I really felt that is part of what I feel also I can really contribute.
Yeah.
Together with the curiosity to understand the organization even better. I learned that also when I started with our CSR working group, that I was in contact with many different departments, right? Because sustainability is something that touches the whole organization. And I learned that there were many parts of our organization I actually didn't know in terms of dynamics and so on. The thought actually, being in HR, and I was acting as an HR business partner, is really something where I can deep dive into the different organization, understand the dynamics, and I really saw it also as a part of the preparation for what I would maybe do later. So, together with the fact that I simply like to work with people, I think that's also what I enjoy most in what I do now. It's making sure you work with a group of people really together, creating a team spirit with a team effort and making sure the puzzle comes together in the best way. I mean, everybody of us has skills, has attitudes, strengths and weaknesses. And I think it's so fascinating how good you can work together if you are able to bring the puzzle together in the right way.
Yeah.
I mean, you fail if the puzzle is set in the wrong way, and it costs you a lot of energy. But if you are able to bring the puzzle together in the right way, there's so much energy that can grow from that.
Absolutely.
And I think those two things, and I really enjoyed it actually.
Yeah.
I was really, I did not plan to leave HR, to be honest. It happened somehow.
Yeah, but I can imagine it gives quite a different perspective on actually the running of the business, because as you said, the focus is people, and we all know that it's people that ultimately are the ones that are running the business. So I think I can only imagine it must have given a really valuable perspective.
Yeah, and as an HR business partner, you obviously very often you face the problems, those things that are not working smoothly. So to understand what you need to change, how you need to react, to make the machine run smoothly again. It's very helpful to understand how one department is working with the other and how this all comes together.
Yeah. Who are the people that have influenced you the most in your career?
I would say there was really one person at Pentland that I was working with really in the CSR team that really showed me how passionate you can be about that topic and how convinced on the other side you also need to be to influence all the other people, because at the beginning of very often you are the person that is stressing, that is uncomfortable because you need to change something. So actually I think she was pretty influencing me in having in mind that you need passion to do your job very well.
Yeah.
I would say that was an important part. She was one person that really showed me how important passion is for what you do. I would say not influenced as a career, but more as a mindset, because I never worked really with them, but I know that a lot of what I have inside me in terms of values, mindset, attitude, for sure my grandma and my grandpa. I think because a lot of what we have as family values are in the company as well. And this is obviously an important part. But I would say especially also my grandma, because she was really the woman that was behind the taste, the style, the beauty of what Oberalp Group, so our retail stores that my grandparents actually built, and she was really the soul behind that. And I think that's something that connects me to her, that interest or that also curiosity in terms of aesthetics and so on.
I'm picking up here, if let's say sustainability is a red thread, I'm picking up strong female influences in you. You talked already about your mum, you talked about your grandma, the person previously at Pentland was a woman, and then because I felt that also with Lamont, thank you, with Lamont, you've somehow got the three key areas that I had identified in my research that I felt were somehow red threads to you. So obviously sustainability, female focused, or not focused, dedicated in this case, and also outdoor, obviously, so outdoor sports. So, but in your own words, what were the reasons and desire to launch a new brand? And if I understand well, it was really you that if I kind of use the external language, you would somehow be the founder of the brand and be the driving force. So, I don't know, but I would imagine that launching a new brand in this day and age is far from simple. So I'm really interested to understand, what were those reasons that drove you to that decision, and maybe share a little bit, if you can, some of the challenges and things that you've learned along the way.
I would say Lamont is something that happened. I will explain why it happened, because there was not a strategic plan at the beginning of saying we need to launch a new brand, but it's really something that was more driven from inside, so it happened in that sense. Maybe I give you 2 episodes that explain why it happened. The first thing was when Christoph Engel, our CEO, joined Oberalp. He challenged us quite a lot in asking how do the different brands of the Oberalp Group position themselves, but even more, how do they differentiate from each other? And having a strong background in brand building, that was obviously his strength, his power that he brought in, and was very interesting discussion. And in this discussion, actually, we recognized that none of our brands is more female-driven than male-driven. in the beginning, it was something that was saying, okay, it is like this. Sport has always been more masculine, has always been more male-driven. Mountains historically have been always more masculine because we had this idea of climbing the mountains, right? Being on the top, conquer the mountains. That's a little bit the way on how we saw mountains. So my first reaction was, well, it is like this. But then there was something with me that didn't let go this way, because I was thinking, well, it is not like it is anymore. There are so many women out there that are going into the mountains, and I'm saying into the mountains because I believe that women really go into the mountains to experience the mountains, to experience themselves in the mountains, rather than the need of conquering the mountains. Obviously, you are happy if you reach the top. You enjoy being on the peak of a mountain and you enjoy having that view. But I think the approach of going into the mountains has changed over the years and has maybe changed especially for women. So that was one part. I wanted to give that approach more space, more, well, making sure you inspire people, not only women, but to go, especially women, to go into the mountain in that way and really take their time for experience that way of living the mountains and living outdoors. So that was one part. And a few weeks after, actually, there was another episode. I was having a weekend ski touring with my husband. He was responsible for Saleva that time. And I had this new Saleva ski touring trouser on. Very nicely done with all the technical features you need, mix of different materials and so on. But there were some details, especially in the fit, where we're saying, well, this has not been thought for women. So I challenged him in saying, well, this mix of materials and the construction is so nicely done, but why didn't you think about doing it that way for women? And as it was not the first time I asked this kind of question, he was a little bit like, again. And his answer was, well, do it differently if you think there is the need. Or I was like, well, why not? And so it really started to work inside me. And I started to scribble down and work on a presentation. And in the end, there was something like a business plan for something. It could also have been a line of Saleva, for example, or a capsule collection of something. And I was thinking, well, there's so much in it, would be a pity just leave it there and not share it. So I actually called, well, some people from our senior management, only men, I have to say. And I showed them, presented them my ideas and all the thoughts I had in this, I would say, 4 months of time. I was like somehow digesting and working on it. And they were like listening and saying at the end of that meeting, all together, well, we need to do that. And you need to do that. And we do it with our own brand. And I was like, what? I mean, I thought there will be some discussion, well, so I have to say they really supported me. I had the need to take some more time to think if I really want to do it. But then I decided, yes. So that's why I'm saying it happened. Because it was really more a feeling in the beginning. Then obviously market research came later, all the things you need to do when you launch a brand, but it was really more gut-driven and really driven by a feeling I had in the beginning.
So it's been, 5 years, I think, since you launched?
We launched in summer 22. So
okay.
Not so long.
I think.
Not so long.
Yeah.
We presented the brand 1 year before, obviously, to our dealers, so in 2021.
Okay.
But the first collection was a summer 22.
Okay. So any early learnings, anything that surprised you?
I think one of the really important things, and where I would take, looking back now, even more time, is really make sure you are 100% sure and you are 100% able to share with everybody that needs to know who you want that the brand feels like, smells like, looks like, really in terms of all the details. Because when you start, you have that one moment where you can do things right or wrong. And it's not only about we're saying, that's the plan, that's how we want to get there, that's the business plan, that's the numbers, that's the distribution, that's the product metrics we know, but really invest in how it should feel, smell, look like. Because I think that's so important. And if that's clear, everything else is so much easier afterwards.
Yeah. Well, congratulations on launching the brand.
Thank you.
It's early days, but I'm sure, I think what you said about the consumer wanting less to conquer and more, I guess it's somehow just experience. And I think that resonates a lot with me. So yeah, I'm sure it will resonate with consumers equally. So I wanted to go back to something you said at the start about the fact that your mum had consciously tried to ensure a separation between your father's career and family life. Because I was reflecting on your situation, you're a wife, a mother of two children. You have a very busy career with a few different hats. So I was wondering, I guess first, are you able to separate work from family life? Because also, if I understand well, as a family, you're all also very passionate outdoor enthusiasts yourself. So those lines must really blur somehow. I was wondering how you handled that, and if there was any kind of non-negotiable things that you have or rules that you have with your husband or with your kids.
Well, I would say in my case it's definitely not a strict separation, as I'm also working together with my husband, so it's somehow hard. But yes, we have some rules. So first of all, I think we learned that we need to plan time as a family and time for ourselves well. We both work a lot and we both work very passionate. So if you work passionate, you usually also like to work a lot because it gives you also energy. I have to say, doing what I do most of the time gives me more energy than it takes away from me. Obviously, sometimes it's stressful, sometimes it takes energy, but most of the time it gives me energy. And I think that's one parameter I learned for myself to understand, that I need to organize my work life in a way that it gives me more energy than it takes energy from me. And that's something I'm very careful about checking in from time to time to understand where I am right now. The second thing is that my husband and I often speak about work issues also outside of the office, but we always ask each other, is it okay if I ask you some work-related stuff? So we also always do this quick check-in, if it's okay or if it's not the moment. Because I think that's something very important to respect. If you're not in the mood, then it's better to stop and discuss it 2 days later in the office. And then, as I said, it's very important to plan your time. And I'm stressing that part probably more than my husband does. But we also learned that we both need not only time with the family, which is obviously one very important part, but also time for ourselves. So usually we also have our Saturdays where we go with friends, experiencing the mountains in our way, because it's not always the same way of going into the mountains, but it's very important for both of us. So, and we also take our weeks off. So as I said before, my husband is having actually not 1 week, but some more weeks right now, crossing the Alps. I will be in Norway for ski touring end of the month. So we very consciously take also those moments to enjoy and feel. And then obviously, if I'm doing a ski tour, being in that business, you obviously observe people.
For sure.
That's part of the game.
Yes.
But yeah, I think it's really it's important that you do those things very consciously and you set somehow your rules to measure sometimes if you are on track.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
And you need a very good network, actually. As we are both traveling quite often for work, you need that network that works. Grandmas or pairs and so on.
Yeah. So what would you consider to be your most important task as a leader?
I would say that today, one of the most important tasks for me is really to understand the mood that is that we are living in that moment in the company, but also outside the company. So really having that sensibility to understand what the waves are, what the rumors are, and being able to interpret them in the right way. Because sometimes, life is not always beautiful and you cannot make happy all the time everybody. But to understand which are the critical issues, situations, I think that's really important in your own business, in your own company, but also, generally, what is happening outside? How does the customer change? What are they really seeking for? And then internally, where more attention is needed in a specific time. I think that's probably the most important task.
Yeah.
Observe, in one word, probably.
Yes. Yeah. So as we already talked about, sustainability has been this red thread throughout your career. And to your point, actually, when you were at Pentland, this was long before it was either
a buzzword.
Yeah, exactly, a trendy topic.
Absolutely.
And now it's even beyond that. It's a necessity, let's say. Before it was understood, it was a necessity. But I think it's still very tough for many people, many businesses to transition from where they are to where they want to go because of the potential impacts on cost, on margin. What are the learnings that you've had throughout your career that have enabled you to the brands that you lead and the teams that you've led and guided to take the decisions that are enabling you to really move forward in a good way on this topic? Because it's not easy, for sure.
I would say we are not arrived, first of all. Also because I think sustainability is one of those topics where we probably never arrive. It's a continuous learning, improvement. There are always new things popping up. If I think 10 years ago we were speaking a lot about PFAS, today it's quite normal.
Yeah.
So we were speaking a lot about recycled materials. Today you speak not about recycling, but in terms of traditional, but maybe really about concept of fiber to fiber. So I think it's always changing and evolving, and you speak about products end of life and you think about those pieces. So I think the most important thing is that you need to admit that it will never be done. I think that's very important if you start working on that. It's a lot of small steps. And sometimes you will also need to change because you figure out that something is working, not working, and so on. But I think what is very important is that we do not have in mind there is that one goal, we arrive and it's done. No, it's continuous. And I think also it helps a lot to think, because it is so big, it can seem very, very hard to get there, like you see the elephant. But I think sustainability is really when it takes into account in the day-by-day decisions we take. And not always it's possible in a first step, but maybe in a second or in a third step. So really do care about the little things, because many little things will end up in one bigger thing. And I think that's one of the most important thing I can suggest. Then obviously a lot of dialogue is needed, also to create understanding, and to create understanding what sustainability means for you as a company. Because I'm also convinced that there is not one way to look at it. There are many ways, all right or wrong, I don't know, but there are many ways, and you need to know what you want to prioritize, and then go with that.
As you said, I think it's such a complex and broad topic that I think it's very easy to get lost and lose your way. So those focusing on those little things and being clear what's important for you, makes a lot of sense. So what's been the most challenging situation, would you say, of your career? And in terms of what's something you've had to deal with, and what did you learn from that?
Well, I would say trying to launch a brand in the middle of the pandemic was for sure one of those moments where I was thinking, what I am doing? What exactly? I remember very well that actually we decided to go with this idea of launching a new brand dedicated to women that are looking for technical materials, technical features to feel confident in the mountains, but at the same time looking for some more feminine aesthetic and finesse. So that was the idea. And we started to work on the project, and what we started end of 2019, beginning of 2020. I remember it was me and one junior colleague starting to work on that project, and then we all know what beginning of 2020 happened. And I have to say that obviously then with all the things that came up with the pandemic and my other role as a member of the executive board and so on, obviously I was completely shifted to all those other topics and trying to contribute as much as I could in reorganizing, handling all the situation and changing from day to day, because that was actually what's happened, that you had to change every second day what you discussed the day before. But I remember also very well that after the first big wave, I had to take that decision, right? To say, is it really the moment to bring on this project now, in this situation? Where we were discussing what will happen with the market, how will the customer behave. I mean, we had all those different scenarios in mind that were not very optimistic. But somehow we decided to go on and start to work on the product and so on. And I have to say that was quite challenging, because you were constantly fighting with yourself, I would say. On one side, I told you before, were all this time that took me to mature this idea, so I was convinced, I was full of passion, energy, and on the other side I was saying, not now. Yeah. So that was a challenging moment, but I think now I can say it was exactly the right timing, because we were ready then to kick off with the brand in a moment where the market was really going well.
Yes.
So today I have to say was a lucky decision, but in that moment it was quite tough.
Okay, so I guess the learning is that...
Well, the learning probably is that you need to invest in difficult moments.
Yeah.
To be ready for that moment where the market is taking off.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that Oberalp generally as an attitude has. I mean, we are right now investing into important buildings for our group, where you say, it's maybe not the easiest moment to
do those investments, building 2 new headquarters.
But I think it will be then also a sign of strength.
Yeah.
So this anti-cycle of investment, I think it's something that is... and obviously it's probably easier to do it as a family business where you can take your own decision instead of taking care about all potential stakeholders out there. So that's for sure an advantage of being a family-owned business.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's interesting. Maybe let's. What else would you identify as an advantage of being a family-run business?
Let's specify that Oberalp is a family-owned but management-run business.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have this combination of family that is partially involved in the business and partially not involved in the business. But my father has taken very early the decision to count on an external CEO, to count on an external CFO, and to bring in solid management. And I have to say today, I'm extremely grateful that he took that decision so early, because I think, the company over time grew, and I think now it's extremely important that this is already part of our culture. But I also think that you have different tasks. So one is the family is owning the business, and Oberalp is 100% owned by the family. So you are responsible in the end for the longevity, for the investments, and for making sure the core of your business stays what you have defined as the core of your business. But it doesn't mean that the members of the family are the best managers. Maybe in some cases yes, in others not. But I think it's really important that you bring this external knowledge, external experience. Also because maybe as a family, you try to do some experience outside, but then you live with your company. Managers from outside bring maybe 5, 6, 7 different experiences, different backgrounds, different sectors. So I think this combination is really important for us. Also in the executive board, we have a mix of family members working in the company and external management. And I think it's really helpful in having a dialogue that takes into account all the different perspectives. It's part of Oberalp since many, many years.
Yes.
So it's nothing new anymore, but I think it's an extremely important setup that we have created.
What type of leader would you describe yourself as?
I'm probably leading a lot through empathy, less maybe through numbers or hard facts, but more through empathy. Yeah.
Okay. You brought up the comparison there to leading through numbers and facts. What advantages do you think that leading through empathy potentially brings to you? Maybe brings to the people around you. Maybe that's more the question.
You always need facts and numbers. With that, I do not want to say that that's not important. You always need them. But I think what is important is that you give the context to these numbers and facts, that you explain based on the different tasks of a team, because the same number maybe can be seen different from one team and the other team based on the different situation you're living right now in terms of a company with normal up and downs. That therefore I think motivation and empathy is extremely important, and it's a lot about how you explain and how you tell the story.
And where usually I think people's style tends to come from somebody else, or maybe a reaction to the opposite. Do you feel like that your style was influenced from somebody else?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure in that part I'm very influenced from my dad as well.
Okay.
He's also that charismatic.
Yeah.
Maybe even more direct, more stronger, charismatic than I am, but really also a lot driven by gut feeling, emotions, vision. So yeah, probably in that I'm pretty much influenced by him as well.
This maybe is somehow the easiest, but also the most difficult question of the day. So what's your favourite piece of outdoor sports gear? And it can't be something of one of the brands that you represent. Considering the categories you cover, maybe you don't even have anything that isn't one of the brands.
No, I think I have something in mind. It's something I'm actually not able to do.
But I think the slackline is an extremely interesting, such simple product, but with so many different ways of exploration. And I'm really not good at it. I'm really a disaster, I have to say. But I think it's so cool how this very easy in the end product, not coming from mountain sports, but has touched somehow our world of outdoor brands. I think that's a pretty cool example also on how outdoor sport changed, right? It's not only alpinism anymore. I mean, 20 years ago, nobody knew what trail running is. And today there is a whole world of trail running going on. Or hike to fly or something that, or you are flying, yes, but there was not the idea of hiking up fast to fly down. So that was something that also came up over the last years. The different ways of climbing, thinking back, we have had climbing in mind as something that is happening on the rocks, pure alpinism. Today, climbing has become something that is very urban. You can do it in every city. And we have climbers that never touched a rock. And also slackline is one of those things where you say, you can do it everywhere. You can also do it actually in a room if you like, but bring it outdoors and bring it to the mountains and so on. So I think it's really fascinating how we also reinvent sports and combine in different ways, and how new ways of living outdoors and living the mountains are coming up all the time. And I think that's something really inspiring. So probably a slackline can stand for that fascination.
Absolutely. It's a good one. So what book would you advise someone to read if they wanted a leadership career, either in sports and outdoor or even outside? Is there any book that you think that's a really good book to read?
Well, so one book that I would really recommend, even if it has nothing to do with outdoor sports or leadership in a traditional way, but it's a book of Harari, and it's called A Brief History of Humankind, which explains where we are coming from and why the humankind is behavioring like we do. It goes really far back in our evolution, but I think it's extremely interesting to understand some general concepts of us, basically.
Yeah. Great. Well, I've not had that one before, so I always like to get a new book to the list. What's the most valuable piece of advice you've ever received?
Also here, I need to find the English translation. In German, we say Mut zur Lücke. So have the courage to accept gaps, not being perfect. Yes. I tend to try to be perfect in the sense of doing my best. But I also learned that sometimes you need to accept the gap in saying, okay, we concentrate on the important thing. We know that we will not be able to manage this, but it's fine. Yeah. I think that's for me an important thing to keep in mind.
Yeah. If today was the last day of your career, what message would you give your team?
It's probably this energy thing. Make sure you organize your work in a way that it gives you more energy than it takes from you. I mean, we all know that there are things you need to do and you like less, but there should always be also things that you really enjoy and that give you energy.
Probably what you just said will be one of these, but if you could give future leaders of the sports and outdoor industry 3 pieces of advice, or let's say 2 pieces of advice, what would they be?
Observe, because we see how fast outdoor sport changed. I mean, going from uphill to downhill, from street running to trail running, from skiing to ski touring, from free riding to speed ski touring. I mean, there are so many dynamics. I think we really need to be very careful in observing because there is so much inspiration, and to be very careful about what the dynamics are and which new ways of living the mountains are coming up. And I'm sure there will be many more in the future as well. So this is one. And I think the second is we're just working in a beautiful business. I imagine myself sometimes doing, I don't know, electronic components for something. But we really are in one of the most beautiful businesses. I mean, the mountains can really be a school of life. They can really teach us so many things. So let's enjoy them. Let's make sure we keep that value very high as an industry, and really, I think, passion and really enjoy the beautiful business we are in, because I think we are in one of the most exciting ones.
Absolutely. So as you know, the podcast is designed to help people that are either already in the industry or thinking about joining the industry, to kind of guide them on their career path. Based on that, is there anything that we should have discussed today that we haven't?
If I think about young people, then I can just encourage to take all the experiences they think of. I think you get richer with every experience. So see different countries, get to know different cultures, get to know different ways of living life. I think that brings in so much value in what you do, then also in your job, not just the classical career path in terms of high school, university, master, and so on. It's important, but it's not all. So make sure, beside that, to enrich, to get enriched by experiences, to get to know cultures, lifestyle, languages, ways of seeing things.
Perfect. Well, a great way to finish. Thank you very much, Ruth, for your time and sharing your insights. It's been super interesting for me, and I'm sure really it's going to be really inspiring for the audience. And congratulations on what you and the team here are achieving. I mean, it's great to see, and I'm sure that you are a strong inspiration for many people in the industry. So really, thank you very much.
Thank you for having this nice conversation. It was really a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed the episode as much as I did. We love to read your feedback, so please leave your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks again for your support. See you soon, and don't forget to subscribe.